for joining us today for our session on how to use storytelling in difficult conversations. And I'm excited to be here with three awesome panelists. We have Sharon, who is the CIO at Juniper Networks. And Sharon is a technology executive with 20 years of experience managing software development and technology operations in media, communications, and software industries, from very large to medium to startups. And she has managed organizations of 550 people and 100 million in operating capital budgets. She's done mergers and acquisitions and worked and consulted internationally. So I'm really excited to hear her thoughts on how she uses storytelling for probably many difficult conversations she's had come across. We have Tanya Monsef, who is the executive professor at Levy School of Business at Santa Clara University. Tanya is an executive coach and a business consultant. She designs leadership training, she leads workshops, she provides one-on-one coaching, and she facilitates conversation for clients around the world with a focus on gender equity. As an internationally recognized leader, she speaks boldly about the power of leading from authenticity as a way to create harmony in the world. So I'm sure you've heard many stories from other folks, given how broad a reach you have with working with people. So I'm very excited to hear your thoughts on this topic as well. And we have Hiba Sharief, who is the CEO at Elevoro. Hiba is a seasoned technology executive and an accomplished leader with 20 years of experience leading consulting and IT organizations. She is a former CIO and CDO, and her experience and expertise is in digital transformation, strategy, and innovation. She's worked in more than 30 countries around the globe, and she was named Silicon Valley's 2017 40 Under 40 by the Silicon Valley Business Journal. She is committed to improving lives and has driven her involvement on a broad range of issues, from financial inclusion to changing the ratio of women in tech, and she has been appointed as Women in Africa Ambassador for Sudan, and is also an active board member and advisor to several organizations with shared interests. Welcome, Hiba.
Thank you, Anna.
Awesome. So my first question to the panelists today is, since we're talking about storytelling, what is your story? What inspires you? Who inspires you? What drives you? What is your passion?
Who's going first? I'm happy to go first. My story is one about just chasing new challenges and, extreme curiosity about many, many things. What drives me is, and maybe that explains all the cookbooks behind me, not doing the same thing that I did and accomplished yesterday, but taking on large new goals and new opportunities.
Awesome. How about you, Tanya?
So I describe myself with 3 words, and mine is global, community, and leadership. And so for me, this idea that we all can lead our lives and we can lead others in a sense of community and be connected around the world is really what my passion is. And I believe in a world where everyone experiences harmony and dignity.
How about you, Hiba?
Thanks, Tanya. So from a story, my story perspective, I'm actually very much driven by my North Star of independence. I've always been someone who, just creates and builds kind of her own story as she goes, trying to almost create something new every time, asking myself, what can I do that's different from everybody else? Because I don't like to bucket myself into, the same buckets as everybody else. So I'm actively always pursuing that in my story. But it's one where I'm always trying to recreate myself.
Fantastic. Well, at Product Maestro, we use a storyteller system to help people become more powerful storytellers. And you all had a chance to take the quiz before the session. So I'm curious, which storyteller type are each of you?
So I am
go ahead.
I'm a wise neighbor.
I'm a visionary.
All right.
And I'm
That's
a
a
neighbor.
And you're a wise neighbor as well. And I'm visionary as well. So we've got visionaries and wise neighbors in here. Really briefly, there are 6 different storyteller types. And the reason I asked this is because I think the audience, you can also find out what your storyteller type is by going to the link I shared earlier, productmaestro.com/storyteller. And the storyteller types is 6 different types on an emotional spectrum, from a very emotional to very logical. And it embeds a number of different assumptions of how we see the world, how we show up, and what our energy levels are. Do we tend to, use more the emotional side or take away the emotional side of any story that we listen to, or more the logical side of that story? There's a lot embedded in the storyteller type, and a lot of I would say a lot of product management, which is where I come from. A lot of folks there tend to be wise neighbor and visionary because we're in the middle of the emotional spectrum, the wise neighbors and visionaries. And so we work really well across with both professors, which is on the far logical end, and evangelists who are on the far emotional end. And being able to do that is a very important skill, I think, as a leader. And of course, different personality tests like this some of them are more testing your innate tendencies, and some are more testing how you have developed as a person over time. And this one is more the latter, right? How are you now? What is your current state? And I think as leaders, you have developed that overall sense of, okay, how do I work with all these different people across the spectrum? So it's very interesting to see. So storytelling is the basis of messages that resonate. I like to explore, how does storytelling play a role in difficult conversations? What has been your experience in using stories in difficult conversations?
I'll go ahead and start. I think one of the ones that comes up for me is I use storytelling in an example where it was like a misalignment of agreement versus alignment. And as I think about any difficult conversation, oftentimes we're really trying to get to agreement, right? We're trying to get someone to hear our side or get someone to really agree with us, maybe. And I like to use the term alignment. And so I was working with a founder. I do a lot of work with entrepreneurs, and I was working with a founder who he was not able to see he needed to really bring on another co-founder, and that his business was going to suffer, and he just couldn't get there. And the person that had been selected to be his co-founder, he just couldn't get to an agreement with. And so I thought, and he was just really anxious and concerned about it. And it was obviously it was his baby. And so I thought it might be helpful to kind of tell a story of an experience I had as a co-founder in working with a founder that I had who really never let anybody in, and really didn't allow room to grow between us, right? Because this person just felt like she was always the right person, and didn't see us as co-founders. And what I shared in the story was really this idea of how it's important to share your values, and to understand what your values are so that you can come to an agreement, not an agreement, but alignment, so that that the ultimate goal of having the business grow is actually what you want to align on, and how you get there. You might not agree on the exact ones. So I shared a story of a circumstance that I had as a founder, where I did not have that opportunity because the founder would not allow us we couldn't work together. And what we found out was that our values were very different. And so we couldn't come together. So it was a nice opportunity to support this founder that I was working with, and having him see that he might not be thinking about the bigger picture, and share a story personally that had been true for me.
Yeah. I see. So in your personal story, did you end up parting ways because you did not agree on value?
We did. And what I shared was that the product that we had actually was so valuable and so needed in the world